During a House Oversight Committee hearing on air pollution, MAGA Congresswoman Lauren Boebert decided to steal the show and remind everybody about how unqualified she is for this job. Not only did she embarrass herself, but she showed a complete lack of understanding about a recent Supreme Court ruling, and she ran into a brutal fact check by none other than Democratic Congressman Dan Goldman. I've got a couple of clips to share with you guys that are going absolutely viral, so this is going to be a lot of fun. It's all coming right up. Things got off to a rough start almost immediately for Lauren Boebert as she began questioning the star witness, the head of the Environmental Protection Agency, Michael Regan. She was questioning whether or not the agency should even exist. Listen to this nonsense.
Is it true that the EPA has never obtained formal authorization legislation from Congress?
I'm sorry?
Is it true that the EPA has never obtained formal legislation, authorization legislation from Congress? It's never been authorized by Congress.
EPA is not authorized by Congress?
I'm asking you.
I thought EPA was authorized by Congress.
Well, the EPA is not. The EPA has never been formally authorized by Congress.
I love that he's not taking the bait from her and forcing her to explain what the heck she's talking about, because he knows she clearly has no idea what she's trying to say. Of course, the Environmental Protection Agency is authorized by Congress and they're funded every single year. So she has no idea what in the world she's talking about. But this is more of that Project 2020-25 nonsense of gutting all federal agencies as Republicans desperately try to find a boogeyman and point to someone or something for all of America's problems. So here we go. The EPA is in the spotlight. But things didn't get any better from that point on. Lauren Boebert decided to share her knowledge of recent Supreme Court rulings and fell completely flat on her face. Watch this back and forth here.
I'm asking about the EPA, and I'm asking about your rogue bureaucrats that have enacted these unconstitutional regulations. Are you going to repeal them? Are you going to continue to implement them, or are you going to stop altogether? Since it's been overturned.
Do you understand the ruling?
Do you understand the ruling of the Supreme Court?
I do, and so your question is ill-formed. No,
will you be
repealing? We're not going to stop.
So you're going to unconstitutionally continue with these rulemakings.
We're going to adhere to the Supreme Court and continue to do our.
So which rulemakings are you going to roll back?
We're going to adhere to the Supreme Court and continue to do our work in accordance to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court.
So which ones are you going to repeal?
The Supreme Court didn't tell us to repeal anything.
They have been deemed unconstitutional.
No.
Absolutely they have. This was a huge victory.
Pump Michael Regan's laugh right into my veins. I love that he's clowning on Lauren Boebert right to her face. I mean, he's trying to be professional, but he can't even help himself because of her clear misunderstanding of what the Supreme Court ruled. And challenging Congresswoman Lauren Boebert with questions is the right move. Show that she doesn't know what she's talking about. And the audacity to claim that this is a huge victory that the Supreme Court awarded. That's not the role of the Supreme Court. They're there to interpret the law one way or the other. There's not supposed to be winners and losers. So to hear a member of Congress talk about a Supreme Court ruling like it's a huge victory is just disgusting. But now comes the brutal fact check from Congressman Dan Goldman in New York. This Democrat is a rock star on the Oversight Committee hearing, and it must be embarrassing to have to work side by side with people like Lauren Boebert.
Mr. Regan, I don't want to spend too much time on this, but I would just like to clarify a few things for my colleague from Colorado. The Loper-Bright ruling, as you know, said that the courts should not defer to agency rulemaking if a statute is ambiguous, and instead the courts get to determine whether or not what the statute means. Is that your understanding as well?
Absolutely.
Okay, so that would not require any regulations to be reversed or overturned, correct?
Correct.
Wow, Dan Goldman breaks it down within seconds. It's really not that difficult of a concept to understand. There are no regulations that are going to be overturned because of what the Supreme Court did. It's about issues in the future and that the courts will have the final say and not defer to the federal agencies, which I disagree with, but it is what it is. But EPA Administrator Michael Regan was rightfully miffed about some comments Lauren Boebert made about reducing the EPA's budget down to zero. Listen to this.
It's just shocking. You spend so much time with our regional staff and regional administration and Region 8 and have such productive conversations about how we're doing things for your district and your state, and then you take this microphone and you
I've also seen the coal plants that have been decommissioned in my state.
But 100% we should not
I've seen the energy regulations that have regulated my district into poverty.
You're spending time with my staff.
Sure.
In your district.
Of course I am. I have oversight over your staff, and I want them to answer. I want them to provide a service for the American people.
Complimenting them
but there
about
are
the
so much.
partnerships.
Yes, there are some things that have been done well, but
we
not
should be
everything.
100%
When we
removed.
have $617 billion per year in rulemaking, that is absolutely absurd. When you are taking our affordable clean energy and regulating it out of existence and killing these good-paying jobs in my district, yes, I have a problem with that.
Sure. Yeah.
My time has expired, and I yield.
Yeah.
I love it. Call these hypocrites out. People like Lauren Boebert will take in private, and they'll use all the resources they can get their hands on. And then when there's a microphone and a camera in front of them, they'll put on some sort of act and pretend that they want to shut it all down. That is the hypocrisy that runs through the veins of the Republican Party. And I'm glad we have people like Administrator Michael Regan willing to call them out and push back. We should not let them get away with anything. Lauren Boebert thought she was going to show up and be cute and try to school the administrator of the Environmental Protection Agency. But in the end, all she got was laughed at, and hopefully she learned a thing or two.